Okay, so we're just going to take in the 3 deep breaths together, breathing in the white light, seeing it coming in through the crown of the head, filling the whole of your body, and with the out breath, releasing, letting go, and seeing the white light going on out through your feet. And now I can feel energy starting to come in. Now I'd like you to send a shaft of golden light up from the crown of your head to the highest point in the cosmos, the heavens, that you can possibly imagine. I do the same so that we meet in a triangle now, an inverted V. And I'm going to call in the energies of Satya Sai Baba, of Babaji, of Yogananda, and of Amma. As I start to feel those energies flowing through me, I'm going to go into my invocation, which I always do out loud. So in this moment now, I invoke the angels of north, south, east and west, of air, fire, earth, water and ether. I invoke the energies of Merlin and the solar cross of fire. Please open the interdimensional doorways, the intergalactic portals of light, that we may work on the highest possible vibration that is safe and comfortable for all of us, that nothing that is not vibrating at that highest Christed frequency may enter. I invoke the angels, archangels, ascended masters, avatars, spirit guides and helpers, loved ones from the spirit worlds, and all Christed beings who wish to assist to draw close. I kneel at the feet of my beloved Lord Satya Sai Baba and Babaji. Please, may all the directions be clear and all that is spoken only truth. Jai Saram. So I'd like you to visualize before you now a very wide golden staircase with 21 steps and a golden handrail. At this moment you're standing on the very top step facing downwards, your right hand fully supported on the golden handrail. You're still enclosed in a beautiful white light, and this is the white light of your higher self and the white light of love, peace, harmony and protection. And in a moment I'm going to begin to count you down the staircase. So you're taking those first few steps now, and you're moving from 21 to 20 to 19 to 18 to 17 to 16. With every step that you take, you're feeling more and more relaxed, moving into deeper and deeper levels of relaxation. Deeper levels of relaxation than you've ever been in before. Deeper levels of relaxation than you ever thought possible. Reaching such deep levels of relaxation now that there's complete alignment between mind, body and spirit. You feel very open, nurtured, safe and secure, very healed, very protected, and very, very loved. And you're moving even farther down the staircase now, moving from 16 to 15 to 14 to 13 to 12. With every step that you take, you're feeling more and more relaxed, moving into deeper and deeper levels of relaxation. Deeper levels of relaxation than you've ever been in before. Deeper levels of relaxation than you ever thought possible. Reaching such deep levels of relaxation now that it's an effort to even listen to the sound of my voice. And you may begin to feel floaty now as you make a very strong connection to the beautiful white light of your higher self, the white light of love, peace, harmony, and protection. You're feeling very light, very etherealized now. And you're moving even farther down the staircase now, moving from 12 to 11 to 10 to 9 to 8. With every step that you take, you're feeling more and more relaxed, moving into deeper and deeper levels of relaxation. Deeper levels of relaxation than you've ever been in before. Deeper levels of relaxation than you ever thought possible. Reaching such deep levels of relaxation now that it's impossible to even listen to the sound of my voice. You're floating now higher and higher in consciousness as you merge and become one with the beautiful white light of your higher self. You feel very light, very etherealized, very protected, very healed, and very, very loved. And there's just those last few steps left now. And you're moving from 7 to 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. You've now reached a very, very deep level of relaxation. A deeper level of relaxation than you've ever been in before. A deeper level of relaxation than you ever thought possible. And with every breath that you take now, easily and automatically, you're being guided into deeper and deeper levels of relaxation. With every breath that you take, just letting go more and more and being guided deeper and deeper within. And while you're doing this, once more invoke the energies of Merlin and the solar cross of fire. Please open the interdimensional doorways, the intergalactical portals of light, that we may now work on the 33rd level, one that is safe and comfortable for all of us, one that nothing that is not vibrating at that highest Christed frequency may enter. So I'd like you to visualize before you now the most beautiful golden door. It's a door to your inner temple, your inner sanctuary, so make it something beautiful. You may like to see it radiating golden light, or inscribed with your name or your initials, or studded with jewels or crystals, or surrounded by flowers or candles, or you may have your own ideas. So I'm just going to leave you for a moment or two to visualize your door. So it's the count of 1, you're visualizing the door. Count of 2, the door's beginning to open, you're passing through. Count of 3, you find yourself on the other side of the door. And immediately in this moment now, 2 angelic beings come in, one to your right, one to your left, and taking you by the hand now, they're lifting you into higher and higher frequencies of light than you've ever experienced before. And together with them now, you find yourself in the most beautiful garden. It's called the Garden of Remembrance because you've been here many times in the sleep states. But we're just going to take a moment or two to familiarize you with the garden. In this moment now, you're dressed in a long white robe that's tied with a golden cord around your waist. Your hair is long and free-flowing around your shoulders, and your feet are bare. You can feel the green grass beneath your feet and the light of a celestial sun warming your body. As you look around you, you become aware of the flowers here, colours and fragrances far beyond the spectrum of physicality. You become aware of the trees and the birds, the shrubs, the insects and the animals here. But way above all of those things, you're aware of a deep and profound sense of healing and of well-being. These two angelic beings now are guiding you towards a pathway which you see meanders around the garden. And as you start to follow it, you're aware of the sound of water in the distance. And as you turn a bend in the garden, you see before you the most beautiful fountain with multicoloured jets, one for each of the colours of the chakras. And it seems the most natural thing in the world to just rush excitedly forward, stand beside the fountain, cast off your robe and step under the multicoloured jets of the fountain, allowing the multicoloured jets to wash over you now, washing away all of the past, all of the hurt, all of the pain, all of the stress, all of the unrequited love, all of the bloodshed, all of the jealousy, every negative emotion that has accrued since the beginning of time. And you don't have to do anything, just by your willingness it's happening, and you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And if any particular person or circumstance comes to mind, just bless it or them with love and let it go, knowing and understanding from the higher vantage point of spirit that everything that happened had to happen, and it's brought you to this point in your spiritual journey and evolution. So in this moment now, the crimson jet is washing through your base chakra, clearing, cleansing, purifying and transmuting anything and everything that is not vibrating at the highest Christed frequency. Once more, you don't have to do anything, just by your willingness it's happening, and you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And now the orange jet is washing through your hara, your navel chakra, clearing, cleansing, purifying and transmuting anything and everything that is not vibrating at the highest Christed frequency. Once more, you don't have to do anything, just by your willingness it's happening, and you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And now the yellow jet is washing through your solar plexus chakra, clearing, cleansing, purifying and transmuting anything and everything that is not vibrating at the highest Christed frequency. Once more, you don't have to do anything, just by your willingness it's happening, and you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And now the green jet is washing through your heart chakra, clearing, cleansing, purifying and transmuting anything and everything that is not vibrating at the highest Christed frequency. Once more, you don't have to do anything. Just by your willingness, it's happening. And you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And now the dark blue jet is washing through your throat chakra, clearing, cleansing, purifying and transmuting anything and everything that is not vibrating at the highest Christed frequency. Once more, you don't have to do anything. Just by your willingness, it's happening. And you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And now the dark blue jet is washing through your throat chakra, clearing, cleansing, purifying and transmuting anything and everything that is not vibrating at the highest Christed frequency. Once more, you don't have to do anything. Just by your willingness, it's happening. And you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And now the indigo jet is washing through your third eye chakra, clearing, cleansing, purifying and transmuting anything and everything that is not vibrating at the highest Christed frequency. Once more, you don't have to do anything. Just by your willingness, it's happening. And you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And now the purple jet is washing through your crown chakra, clearing, cleansing, purifying and transmuting anything and everything that is not vibrating at the highest Christed frequency. Once more, you don't have to do anything. Just by your willingness, it's happening. And you're letting go, letting go, letting go. And in a moment, we're going to pull the energy up and align it on a much higher frequency than before. So the energy is beginning to rise now from the crimson at the base of the spine to the orange of the hara, the navel chakra, to the yellow of the solar plexus, to the green of the heart, to the dark blue of the throat, to the indigo of the third eye, to the purple of the crown. And as your crown chakra opens fully now, you're just allowing yourself to float upwards, moving far beyond the confines of time and space, as you merge completely now with the beautiful white light of your higher self, feeling very light, very free, very etherealized, as you expand wider and wider and higher, moving far beyond the confines of your body or the chair. And while this is happening, once more invoke the energies of Merlin and the solar cross of fire, Please open the interdimensional doorways, the intergalactic portals of light, that we may now work on the 55th level, one that is safe and comfortable for all of us, one that nothing that is not vibrating at that highest Christed frequency may enter. So it's time to step out of the fountain now, and as you do so, you're being handed a multicoloured robe, which you slip over your head and shoulders. And these two angelic beings are guiding you now towards a corner of the garden, where they leave you seated on a rustic bench beneath a rose arbour, and they begin to withdraw, because in a moment the Ascended Masters are going to come in by colour and by ray to merge with you. So in this moment now, the Master Sananda, the Christ energy, steps forward, and he comes on the violet ray, and he merges in this moment his essence, his energy with yours. And now the Master Kuthumi steps forward, and he comes on the orange ray, and he merges in this moment his essence, his energy with yours. And now the Master Hilarion steps forward, and he comes on the yellow ray, and he merges in this moment his essence, his energy with yours. And now the archangels step forward. Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel and Zadkiel, the archangels of ascension. And they come on the green ray, and they merge in this moment, their essence, their energy with yours. And now the Master Elmura steps forward, and he comes on the dark blue ray, and he merges in this moment his essence, his energy with yours. And now the Master Maitreya steps forward, and he comes on the indigo ray, and he merges in this moment his essence, his energy with yours. And now the Master Saint Germain steps forward, and he comes on the purple ray, and he merges in this moment his essence, his energy with yours. And you're spiraling now higher and higher in consciousness within a vortex of colour and light as you merge and become one with each of these beloved energies. The violet of the Master Sananda, the orange Kuthumi, the yellow of Hilarion, the green of the archangels Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel and Zadkiel, the dark blue of Elmura, the indigo of Maitreya, and the purple of Saint Germain. Many other energies overshadowing us. Dawn Call, Paul the Venetian, John the Beloved, Lady Nada, Lady Portia, Lady Venus, Lady Diana, Kuan Yin, Pleiadian and Mysteries of Light. Many other energies overshadowing us. But I'm also aware that the Egyptian energies are waiting to come in preparation for the soul retrieval. So once more invoke the energies of Merlin and the solar cross of fire. Please open the interdimensional doorways, the intergalactic portals of light. That we may now work on the 77th level, one that is safe and comfortable for all of us, one that nothing that is not vibrating at that highest Christed frequency may enter. I invoke the energies of Anubis, Sekhmet, and Baba to go into the underworld and retrieve all parts of your heart, soul, and any other bodily parts that have been lost, stolen, destroyed, fragmented, separated, or frozen through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet, and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords, and the dark arts. And now invoke and ask that all oaths be rescinded and removed from your auric fields and subtler bodies, especially those pertaining to poverty, chastity, and obedience. Through time and space, beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet, and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords, and the dark arts. I now invoke and ask that all covenants and contracts be rescinded and removed from your auric fields and subtler bodies, through time and space, from the beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet, and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords, and the dark arts. Now invoke and ask that all black magic, curses, voodoos, and spells be rescinded and removed from your auric fields and subtler bodies, through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet, and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords, and the dark arts. And now invoke and ask that all implants be removed from your auric fields and subtler bodies, through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet, and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords, and the dark arts. Now invoke and ask that all androids be removed from your auric fields and subtler bodies, through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet, and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords, and the dark arts. And now invoke and ask that all fears and traumas, especially past life, birth, and death traumas, be released from the auric fields and subtler bodies, through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet, and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords, and the dark arts. And now invoke and ask that all discarnate spirits, thought forms and entities be removed from your auric fields and subtler bodies, through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet and intergalactically, especially those pertaining to wizardry, the warlords and the dark arts. And now invoke and ask that all hooks and cords be removed from your auric fields and subtler bodies, through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords and the dark arts. And now invoke and ask that the ancestral lineage on the mother's side be cleared, cleansed, purified and transmuted, through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords and the dark arts. And now invoke and ask that the ancestral lineage on the father's side be cleared, cleansed, purified and transmuted 7 generations back and 7 forward, through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords and the dark arts. I invoke and ask that anything and everything that is not vibrating at the highest Christed frequency be removed from the auric fields and subtler bodies, through time and space, from beginning of time to the end of time, on planet, off planet and intergalactically, especially pertaining to wizardry, the warlords and the dark arts. I now ask that all holes and tears in the auric fields and subtler bodies be mended and filled with the golden light of the Christos, and reconnected to the Christ consciousness grid that surrounds the planet. And especially to the sacred sites of Glastonbury Tor, the Abbey, Chalice Well, the White Spring, Wirral Hill, Bridie's Mount, Stanton Drew, Stonehenge, Avebury, St Michael's Mount, and any other sacred sites as appropriate to the individuals. Once more, invoke the energies of Merlin and the solar cross of fire. Please open the interdimensional doorways, the intergalactic portals of light, that we may now work on the 99th level, one that is safe and comfortable for all of us, one that nothing that is not vibrating at that highest Christed frequency may enter. Call in the energies of Isis, Osiris and Horus, of Hathor and Sekhmet, of Min, Ammon and Ra, of Set, Nut and Bast, of Anubis, Thoth and Mart. And in this moment now, I invite your highest Anubis guide to be fully present with you, overshadowing you and touching you in a way that you may sense, feel, or know. In this moment now, I invoke the presence of my own highest Anubis guides to be fully present with me, overshadowing me, controlling me, and guiding me. Please use me as your instrument of love, in alignment with God's will, with the highest Christed frequencies, to facilitate these Anubis 1 and 2 attunements at practitioner level. So in this moment now, I invoke the energies of men to come into your auric fields and subtle bodies through your hands, through your heart into your hands. This moment now, I invoke the energies of Amun to come into your auric fields and subtler bodies through your hands and through your heart into your hands. Now I invoke the energies of Hathor to come into your auric fields and subtler bodies through your heart into your hands. And now invoke the energies of Yod to come through your auric fields and subtler bodies through your heart into your hands. Now invoke the energies of Amat to come through your auric fields and subtler bodies through your heart into your hands. Now invoke the energies of Horus to come in through your auric fields and subtler bodies through your heart into your hands. And I now invoke the energies of Ra to come through your auric fields and subtler bodies through your heart into your hands. And I now ask that a golden seal of protection be placed all around the auric fields and subtler bodies, and that it be filled with the golden light of the Christos, that nothing that is not vibrating at that highest Christed frequency may enter. And while Jonathan is still coming round through that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how Anubis came to me. I've been very close to Sathya Sai Baba, and I'll be talking a little bit about him later. But what happened was that etherically he came to me one morning on waking, and he asked for my permission to take me very close to death, to hold the frequency for the individual, for the planet and for the collective. And this is what happened, and I did become very, very ill. It happened over a number of weeks. I don't need to go into the ins and outs of it, but it culminated in me having to go into hospital. I couldn't even watch the television or read a book. My eyes were yellow. I just hold on to the fact that he said I would be taken very, very close to death, but not through death, although I don't have any fear of that. I was in the hospital in National Health 1 over 10 days, and every day I was getting worse and worse. They did some blood tests, and on about the 4th day, the specialist came to see me, and he said, "Oh, I'm surprised to see that you're even still conscious, because my CRP, which should have been under 10, was actually 350, and death is 400. They didn't really know what to do. They sent a rheumatologist to see me. She said it wasn't anything to do with that. So all the time, every day, I was just getting worse and worse. I was asking to be sent to a private hospital because I have private medical insurance, and also my friends and family were also begging them to send me to a private hospital. But it wasn't until the 10th day that came about. I was just left getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And then I got to the private hospital, and it was like going from hell to heaven. I had my own specialist consultant. He came in every day. He did a full body CT scan, full MRI of my head. Nothing at all showed up. He put antibiotics intravenously into my arm, and that did bring down the CRP a little bit, but not really a lot. But I did start to feel a little bit better. And then he had to label me with something, because the private hospital was saying, I'd already been in there a month by this time, that they couldn't keep me in there any longer. I had to be treated as an outpatient. So he stuck me on high-dose steroids and labelled me with temporal arteries, which it couldn't possibly have been. because here around my temples would have been like very, very sensitive, and also he would have had to done a biopsy, which he didn't do. So anyway, the steroids blew me open. They were all part of the plan. I was sent home after, you know, a few days on the steroids when I started to feel better. I was awake, I only had about 2 hours sleep a night. I was receiving information like 360 degrees, 24 hours, 24/7 almost. And then what happened was after that, after like a few months, it was, first of all, it was explained to me that I'd had a walk-in experience, and that why my bloods were completely off the chart. It wasn't a walk-in of another entity, but it was all of my multidimensional selves that had come in. And that, of course, made complete sense, because if all of my multidimensional selves had come in through time and space, from the beginning of time to the end of time, etc., I would have a very different blood count while it was going on anyway, and while it was integrating. So yeah, I thought that was like really, really interesting. And then it was explained to me that this would take actually several years, and various parts of my body would be breaking down, and I would be maybe laid up in bed for some of that time. And that's what happened, because all of the memory that was held in the cells of my body just had to be released, and that took a long time, cleansing that, purification and releasing all of the memories that were in the cells. So that's how the multidimensional energy clearing was birthed, and I want to tell you that before the Anubis, because it is a prerequisite of Anubis that you do the multidimensional energy clearing first. And it's also a prerequisite of Anubis, but Jonathan obviously got a sick note, that you actually have to fast and not drink coffee. But I know that he doesn't drink coffee anyway, so that was all fine. And this has all happened actually in the moment, taking both of us by surprise as it's happening live here. So then, now I'm going on to the Anubis. What happened about the Anubis was that I was on a Karuna master teacher course. I took it with William Rand. I had to have him, so the lineage was very pure, because he brought through the Karuna reiki. And while I was on the course, sorry about these flies keep landing on me, I received another symbol that was nothing to do with the Karuna reiki. And I just thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. But after I finished the course and I went home, a lady came for a Reiki treatment with me. And I started to use that symbol, the Anubis symbol. And she actually had an ulcerated leg that was in danger of going gangrenous. And I worked on her 3 times, actually, and it cleared up. So I'd received one symbol, and then over the next few months, I received 2 more. And I was told by what I call my light team, the energies that work through me, that I would receive 4 more symbols that would be put into a system called Anubis Reiki. But they had to prepare my energy bodies to receive the 2nd level symbols. So the first 3 I received were 1st level symbols. And how that came about was that after I'd received the first 3, I thought, I'm not going to waste these symbols. I used them when I actually treated people, but also I put them in a 3rd level when I taught people Karuna Master Teacher. And they all said these symbols are very, very different to Karuna. They're entirely different. They're much more powerful. And I said, yes, I know, but I haven't received the whole system yet. So I worked like that for 3 years. And then one day, I think it was round about 99, around the time I got the channeling through from Thoth, I was in a relationship at that time, and I just had the idea that we should go and see a hypnotherapist. And I thought it was for my partner, actually. But when we arrived, I'd put myself in as well. He said that he would take me first. And he said to me, why have you come? And I said, I've no idea. So he put me under, and then to my complete amazement, and also his, I went back into this past life. I remember being a priestess of Isis in Abydos and Dendara. All of the symbols came through, the 2nd level as well. The attunement process came through. All of the information really that I needed came through in that session with the hypnotherapist. He luckily had paper and pen. He scribbled a few notes. And then when my partner was having his session, I went and sat in the car and put all the pieces together. So I had the system then, but I still didn't know the significance of the symbols. So I was working with some people at that time from Mark. That's my partner's name in Cheshire. we were working actually between Bournemouth, where my home was, and Cheshire, where his home is. And I asked them if at the end of the day, it was an Ascended Masters workshop, if we could stay behind, have a shared tea, and then sit for what my symbols were to be used for. And they agreed to that, so that's what we did. And in that sitting, which lasted probably about an hour and a half, the relevance of the symbols and why what they were to be used for came through. And a lot was explained as well. Are we okay with the time on that?
Yeah,
I'm just going to have a brief, quick look to see that we're not going to lose anything on the memory here. We're okay, yeah. Because we don't want to lose anything of this.
It's 9%.
Okay, right. Okay, so then I had all the information then about the symbols, what they were to be used for, and then of course the system came together, and very, very quickly actually I was attuning people. But it has evolved a lot since then, as I have evolved. This was in the year 2000 that I started attuning people, and we're now in 2020. And I just want to, actually, I'm just going to break there for a minute. I'll pick up on that because I'm going to ask Jonathan to bring his chair over and to share whatever he might have experienced through that session.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So maybe you'd like to share anything from the multidimensional energy clearing if you remember it, and then go on to the Anubis. And remember, everyone who's watching, this has been done spontaneously in the moment. It took me by surprise. It may have taken Jonathan by surprise. He hasn't done any preparation that I normally ask people to do. And so I just want to see from him what he's experienced in this spontaneity, multidimensional energy clearing and attunement. Over to you, Jonathan.
Yes, okay. So first off, when doing the multidimensional clearing and doing the Reiki attunements, like I felt almost like there was so much energy under the legs, so they were almost like they were levitating almost.
Which level? But was that multidimensional energy clearing, or the Anubis, or was that all of it?
There was the
multidimensional energy clearing.
Yes,
yeah,
and
okay.
I was starting to levitate, and also my hands were very energetic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just felt very good, and I felt like also there was a lot of I felt like there was a lot of guides and stuff like coming through, telling me stuff, and so that was very nice, and I felt and they were giving me a lot of joy and a lot of they were like joking with me, and like I felt very, very good.
You still seem quite high, yeah.
Yeah. And then when it came to Anubis, it was actually very interesting because I saw Anubis, and I saw him, and he was in front of me, and he said or he showed me this key. I'm not sure if it's like
a key.
Yeah, like a key with the.
It's the ankh. It's the ankh. Yeah, the key of life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me. He said like, use this for when you're gonna heal, and you're gonna see the symbols inside of the circle, and you can like put your consciousness into this symbol or into this. It doesn't have to be like a physical symbol, but he was telling me like. If I want to do healing, I can use this and put everything, like put my energy into this, and this is like something you can like then like you can use it also in reconnective healing and other healings. It's just like it's a nice thing that you can draw other modalities from. So this was very interesting. I was like, okay. But just like start small, and this is what you get for now, and let it unfold further. And I was like, okay. So it was like, wow, okay, very interesting. What just came true, and yes, I feel very blessed and very grateful to be here with you as well. Like,
yeah, just to say one thing though, it won't be your energy that's putting it through. You'll be only. This is really, really important for everyone now, to know that you're not doing anything. You're only the instrument, the conduit. So all you need to do is to visualize the symbol, say its name, and allow the energy to flow. That's all you need to do. And the anchor is the key of life. That's amazing that he gave you that. And yeah, did you feel anything when all of these symbols were brought in by name through your auric field and into your hands? Did you feel anything different in your hands with each one?
I felt more, or I felt I was just like very in a high vibrational state. I would say it was different, or it was difficult for me to actually feel a difference, but because it was just like
All in one.
yeah, all in one kind of thing. So yeah, and I'm still getting more and more like trying to feel the energies even more and more, the subtle energies. So but I felt like it was very like all in one, and they were just like accumulating on top of each other somehow.
Just to share with the people that normally if someone had booked in to do this with me, and I do it over Messenger and Skype, I would send them the symbols first so that you become conversant with them. And actually a guy in Belgium has started to get results from the symbols before even the attunement. We waited 3 weeks actually till he was properly cooked. Almost every day he was getting different things happen to him. So this happened spontaneously out here in the open. You can see that Jonathan's had an experience that he's never seen the symbols, and we still got an amazing result, you know. And I will give him the symbols now because he's had the attunement and he can work with it. As a thank you for him for doing this amazing stuff to get us out on YouTube. So I'm going to pick up on now then what I was saying. Do you want to stay there, or do you want to go back there?
Oh yeah, you can continue. But thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing, and I hope you, other people out there, also will contact Valerye if she feels that you could be right as well. Like, this is such a blessing. So thank you, Valerye.
Yeah, I feel anyone who's watching this, they'll have a flavour for it. You know, something will happen to them, and they'll have a knowing that they need to reach out to me. And the multidimensional energy clearing as well. Is there anything you can remember about that you might want to share that was preceding the Anubis, or was it all just such a build-up of it that you don't have any memory now?
No, yeah, it was just more like a build-up, and I also but when I was talking about the levitation thing, it was very like I felt very highly energetic. And I felt like I could like channel through more or guides and spirits and whatever that was there that like they were coming through. So a lot of this was happening, and I actually felt while you were doing a lot of the clearing, they were just doing, you were clear right now. Like,
well, actually you weren't, because when it came to your base chakra, a lot was taken from there.
Yeah, no, but that was the thing. But after, like, when we were starting to get higher, but I felt like there was like, okay, just like just be in the energies now, and this is gonna be good. And
in the multidimensional energy clearing, just to explain, you don't have to do anything. Lots of people are like just taken out. How I work with, I do it over Messenger and Skype, and the people are lying in bed under a duvet because the temperature can go really cold, and so am I. And all of this process is just happening like we just did it, but you forget you're in your own homes and in separate countries or whatever, because you're joined in this amazing energy. So
and a lot of it just like I was probably somewhere else because I was just doing, but all of it it was getting into my unconscious state anyway, so it was definitely like put in there. So I just like, that's why I still feel very high on vibrational energy. So yeah. It was a good thing.
We're all high on spirit here, and we don't drink alcohol.
Okay.
All right. So,
thank you so much. You can continue on.
So I think I was going to be talking about attunements, any attunements actually. That's used 3 Tibetan, Karuna, Anubis. It's really, really important that you kind of make sure that you're going to the right Reiki master that's correct for you. Some Reiki masters, they get their Reiki master teacher either free from a friend, or they might not have done any work on themselves, or something like that. So I just want to explain a little bit about the symbols. I can see that I've been prepared over probably many, many lifetimes. I've never drunk. I haven't eaten meat since 2000 actually. I've never taken drugs and I've never smoked cigarettes. I guess my soul knew that it had to be kept very intact for the work that I was to do. And this is actually where the multidimensional healing is such a gift, because that kind of gets rid of anything that you might have got by any kind of association in the past, in this lifetime and in previous lifetimes. And excitingly too, I've just been told that they're going to put in an antidote for anyone who had the injection for the coronavirus, because I'm sure that those of you that may have had it, like been bullied into it, maybe by the government because you wanted to travel, or they put you into fear, or for whatever reason, now 3 years ago we can see through the illusion. Well, I saw through it 3 years ago, but even if you have had the COVID injection now, or injections, then please come and have the multidimensional clearing with me, because they're putting in an alchemy now for that. So I want to explain now about the alchemy. So there's different systems. There's usui, Tibetan, karuna, and the Anubis, which is my own system. And there's others out there as well, but I can't talk about those because I don't belong to them. I'm not a teacher in those. So what happens is that frequencies are put through the symbols, and those frequencies as to what vibration that the karuna, that the Reiki master teacher can rise to, and also for that of the recipient. So whenever I teach now, whether it be usui, Tibetan, karuna or Anubis, I always do the multidimensional energy clearing directly preceding it, because then the person is vibrating at the highest rate they possibly can, and they're in the cleanest field, and so am I. And in that way, the enlightened beings who work with me and through me can put the highest alchemy through the symbols. So the symbols are alchemical and they're evolving all of the time. And you should always remember that you're not the doer, that you're only the instrument. And I always tell people not to do anything, just to allow themselves to attune to the symbols, and then just to intuitively visualize them and to let the energy come through, and to just go wherever they're needed or guided to go on the body. I don't teach like a normal Reiki master teacher anymore in groups, and I want to explain about that. If you're in a group, then only one alchemical frequency can come through the Reiki master. So say you've got a group of 6 or 10 or however many it is, the person that is vibrating on the lowest frequency and the person who's vibrating on the highest frequency, they have to come together to merge in the middle, so that the alchemical frequency will be right for each member of that group. But if those people had come to me on a one-to-one, they would have had a different alchemy put through the system, the symbol. They would have the one that they were attuned to by their energetic code or their signature for themselves. So everyone has a unique vibratory rate, and that has to be taken into consideration. So always don't go into Reiki master teacher especially lightly, or even level 1 or 2. Just kind of feel what's right for you, what resonates, and you may want to be reattuned further on down the line with another Reiki master. I'm here. And I can do it over Skype or Messenger and be reattuned on anything, you know, usui, Tibetan, karuna, of course not Anubis, that only happens once. So to get back to what I'm saying, the alchemy is like put into the symbol, and then what happens before that, and that's why I have a preparation time now, especially with the Anubis, is that in that preparation time, the guides of myself, or the light beings, and the light beings of the person that's come to me for the Anubis, and I'm just talking about Anubis now, but I'm sure with karuna and the other systems I'm going to be also working in that way now. They build a bridge, and they have to like get to know each other, and they have to do a preparation time, because especially with the Anubis, it's like having a whole operation on your whole auric field, and the others too. If I proceed it with the multidimensional energy clearing, it is having an operation on your whole auric field. So if you were to go into hospital for an operation, you wouldn't just go in on the day. You would see your consultant beforehand. He would take notes. You'd probably see him several times. You would see the anaesthetist. They would decide when they were going to do the operation. They would explain it all to you. So all this happens now. when I teach the Anubis, I don't know about the karuna because I haven't taught that recently. It may be the same with that. So it's really important that my light beings have told me that we always do the multidimensional energy clearing preceding it, and then go immediately into the attunement. And then what I do is I phone the person back then again on my Messenger or Skype a few hours later, and I tell them how to work with the symbols. And the symbols are sent out before we even, once they've agreed to work with me, before we even agree a date, because I need to like tune in to how long they need preceding the attunements and the energy clearing, so that our teams, their team, my team, can get to work on them. And it's amazing what happens in that intervening time before the actual attunement. It's not like the old days when someone would say, yeah, I want to come and do whatever it is with you, and they would come into the room and I would attune them, or even attune them over Messenger, and there would be nothing beforehand apart from maybe, if I remembered, I would ask them not to drink coffee, because they could then end up having a blinding headache, and so could I. So now when I work with people with a multidimensional energy clearing and the Anubis, and probably the karuna too, there has to be a time of purification, a minimum of 3 days actually, when they don't drink coffee, they don't drink alcohol, they don't eat meat. And people are surprised what happens in this preceding time. The guy in Belgium, I just worked with him yesterday actually. I think we had to wait over 2 weeks for him to cook and be ready. And he had all these amazing things happen, and I would check in with him every few days, and he would tell me about them, how he was already working with the symbols and he could work on his system with them, and he was feeling that this was good for this and that was good for that, etc. And so I'll know, like, I'm going to check on him in a few days to know how different it's been since the attunement. But just to share this with you, that these light beings, they're working on you, and what's happening is that they're loosening things in your energetic field, so that when it comes to the time that we actually work together, then everything has been loosened up and it can be got rid of. And this can happen in just one session. It only needs one session of the multidimensional energy clearing. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you. Do I need to talk any more about alchemy? I think I've kind of explained it enough. Alchemy is obviously a mystical ingredient, I'm being told to explain it, that's put into the symbols. So if you were doing your usui, you'd have, with usui 1, you'd have the chakra put in, and then that there would be the alchemy of that would go into your hands. Then you go on to the level 2 and you receive the Honja Seishonen, the Seihei Ki, as well as the chakra, and that alchemy goes in. Then if you go on to Reiki Master Teacher or Practitioner, then Reiki Master Practitioner, the alchemy of the Master Symbol, the Dekomyo, goes in as well. So everything is alchemy. And then with the karuna, I feel that's a higher frequency. It connects you more with the Ascended Masters and Angels. You get symbols to release past lives, release dysfunctional patterns, to open up the heart. I can't remember all of them. I think there are, gosh, I can't even remember how many there are. I think there are 9 actually. And then of course there's the Anubis, which aligns with each of the chakras, and there's a 7 in total. Maybe they'll be bringing in another Anubis now, which aligns with the 7, with the 5 high multidimensional chakras. Well, have to see. I think was that a question you asked me, wasn't it? Yeah. So maybe we'll have to wait and see. So I've kind of talked about that. So now, how much time have we got left? Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit really about Sai Baba, and about how my life has absolutely changed since he came into I'll call it my field of consciousness. So trying to think, I have to kind of go back to 1988. And I'm in my 3rd relationship. I've got two marriages, each 10 years each behind me, and I'm now engaged. And we're going out to Spain to open up a spiritual centre there. And I go with my 3 sons, and we decide that we're going to make a journey of it, have a holiday, take 10 days, and on the way we'll stop in Lourdes. I always wanted to go to Lourdes in France, and we'll stay there 2 nights. So while we're there in that special sacred energy, you probably know about Lourdes, where the Virgin Mary appeared to Bernadette and gave her these visions. So I think it was the first night we were there actually, that we lost the spare car keys, and I said to Peter, oh, don't worry, we'd hunted and searched, and I said, don't worry, they'll turn up once we get to Spain and we go through everything. But actually they never did. And in between times, I'd come back to England and I'd gone to the Arthur Findlay College at Stansted, Mount Fishett, which is where they hold seminars, I think I'll call them seminars, for spiritual enlightenment and evolution. And I'd booked on a course, and while I was there I met a soul connection, and we'd agreed to keep in touch as you do. So then I came back to Spain, and probably been back about a couple of months when I got this letter from Gordon. He was the guy I'd met on the seminar. And he said he'd like to come out to visit us. And then he said while he was writing the letter, his pen got taken by spirit, and I had to have a little laugh because all of those things were happening to me at that time. And on the back of the envelope, he said his pen was returned the next day. So I read the letters and thought, oh, it'd be nice to see Gordon again. Drew back the curtains on my balcony, stepped out, and there 18 months later, that spare car key had been apported from Lourdes in France to Mahaca in Spain, just as I was reading my first Sai Baba book, which was Embodiment of Love by Penny Lang and Ron Mason. And it was like then Sai Baba made the connection. He said, right, I'm in charge of the driving seat, because obviously the car is very indicative of driving. I'm driving the car now, get out of the way. And after that, kind of all hell broke loose in my life. Within probably about a year, I'd lost my children and my relationship. My mother had died. So it was like, yeah, a very swift, put your neck on the block, I'm chopping it off. I'm laughing, but it was a very painful time in my life. I had to leave a man that I felt I was in love with, and we were working together, but we'd run out of money, so it was very clear I had to come back to England and find somewhere for the children. They'd only been with me a very short time, probably a few months, when my ex-husband, who hadn't seen them for a long while, asked to see them. And when I was packing up their things for them to go away for just a weekend, I found myself packing much more than they'd need for a weekend. I didn't know why. And then after they'd left, this strong voice in my head, I think Sai Baba, said, you have to switch your phone off and your answer phone, and you have to get a friend to ring your ex-husband and tell them that he needs to keep the children for the rest of the school holidays because you're not well enough to look after them. And that was actually true. On coming back from Spain, I obviously had left everything behind. It was very difficult for me. I was also a medium in the spiritualist churches at that time. And I was getting to the stage where I wasn't sleeping. Once the boys came back to me, I was having a job to get them a meal together. Then I would go back to bed. You could call it an ME, but I know that it was a soul sickness because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So anyway, they went to be with my ex-husband. I turned off the phone. I'd had actually 10 years of violence with my ex-husband. So when my friend actually phoned to say that I wasn't well enough to have the boys back, all hell broke loose there as well. And that's why I was told to turn off the phone. And then after kind of things cooled down, I was just in my home alone, actually. The phone was off, the answer phone was off. I was going through a very deep grieving process because my children were with my ex-husband. I'd left a partner, and I saw there was an abyss that I could very easily have fallen into. And it was that time actually that Sai Baba came into my life on a knowing level, and I'll probably talk all about that in a moment. But in this time anyway, when my sons went to my ex-husband, my daughter also had cut herself off from me with my mother, and I still don't know what that's about. Just all of a sudden there was no connection between me and my mother or my daughter. So in this period when I was alone with no connection with the outside world at all, my daughter tried to come and see me. She left a note on the door, and I left a note saying, you haven't wanted to talk to me up to now, and this really isn't a good time, I'm sorry. And then she pinned another note on the door, and she'd actually travelled 3 hours to me. I really need to talk to you, Mum. So I let her in, and she said, I have to tell you that Grandma's died. And she'd actually died 3 days before, and my daughter had organised the funeral and everything. And then my daughter left, just like that. She said, I'll come and pick you up from the funeral, and now I'm going. And I thought, oh my God, you know, what a time for my mother to die. I was really frozen in a state of shock. And yeah, my daughter came and picked me up for the funeral. It was all organised, and from that moment on, actually, my daughter still hasn't spoken to me properly, and I still don't know what it's about. And as I'm sharing the story, I'm seeing that we're weaving a web here that's probably going to be talking on a lot of different topics, but I'll try and follow the trail that they're giving me, which I think was about Sai Baba. So Sai Baba then called me into his presence in 1998 when I physically went into his presence. Oh, I better just finish the loose ends about my sons. After the funeral of my mother, and I went back to be on my own for the rest of the school holidays, and then my ex-husband actually put my sons on the phone under duress to say they wanted to stay with him. And an inner voice said, this is karmic, leave it alone. And although it was very painful at that time, I saw that it was freeing me up to allow me to do my spiritual work. And I had Jesus very close to me at that time as well. And I kept on hearing the words from the Bible, leave all that you have and follow me. So that's just to kind of clear up that little loose end there. So now I'm back with Sai Baba, and he's called me into his presence in 1998. The first time I came into his presence was only 8 days, but in those 8 days he gave me so much grace. I didn't realise it at the time, but I kept on getting front lines morning and evening. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what I mean by that. I visited Sai Baba in his ashram in Puttaparthi, and he says that you can't even go through the gates. You can't even go through the gates of the ashram unless he calls you. And I feel that that's true, because I tried to go and see him before that. Once I joined the Sai Baba group, they were taking a group out, and I put my name down to go. And then I was starting to feel I wasn't going to go, and I still sent for my visa. And then he, in between times actually, my ex-husband had broken my hip. And I was still going to go to Sai Baba. They said, we'll take you in a wheelchair, but I wasn't exactly looking forward to it, because I thought I might be put in the sheds, which is a whole big building where you have to sleep on the floor all together. But I thought, if he's calling me, I'll go. And then he came to me etherically one morning, and he said he wanted me to relinquish my place. This was a couple of years before, because he had someone else that he wanted to go, and they weren't there when the group came together. So he got me to put my name down, but now they were taking my place. And I was quite relieved on one level. So he called me in 1998, and that was better for me, because I wasn't in a wheelchair then for a start. So I made a pact with him before I went, and I said, I'd like to stay in the ashram, but only if I can share with one other person. I don't want to go in the sheds, and if you put me in the sheds, I'm going to go to a hotel outside, but I really want to stay on the ashram. So I booked the flight, and there was an internal flight that actually flew into Puttaparthi itself, and it was lovely on the flight because you could look down and see his ashram. And when we landed and were going to get our baggage, a German girl approached me, and she said, if we go and get a group, if we stay together and get a group for the two of us, we won't have to go in the shed. So I thought, oh, so Baba's at work here. So that's what we did. But I later found out in those 8 days that she was a manic depressive, and that she'd come to Puttaparthi so that she could get drugs she couldn't get in her country to commit suicide. This is what she said anyway. But I was getting so much grace from Sai Baba, it didn't matter. I was only going back to sleep. She wanted the windows open. I wanted it closed because they were building a coconut stand outside, and it was so hot and there was so much noise. So all this was going on as a learning experience between the two of us that I see now that I didn't see at the time. And I was getting front lines. What you have to do is that the women line up from anything from like 5 o'clock in the morning until about 6, and then tokens are taken from a bag. The person at the front of the line pulls for 2 lines, and then you can arrive at 6 and get a line 1, or you can arrive at 5 and get a line 30. You know, it's all Swami's will, really, Sai Baba's will. So I kept on getting first lines morning and afternoon, and I just thought it was because I was new, and he would come and smile at me and stand before me and just smile and look into my eyes, which is probably all I could take then, and then pass on. And then I was realizing that it didn't hit me until after I'd left, actually, that people were asking him for an interview. So subsequently after that, I took, I was by then in a relationship in 1998, and I took my partner out and some people that were working with me, and my son as well, and we had an interview. And Swami looked into no, there was another interview before that, but anyway, I'm talking about this one now. He looked into my soul and he said, "What do you want?" And I was crying, and I said, "I just want the world, Swami. I don't want the world anymore, Swami. I only want God. Will you help me?" And he just looked into my soul and he said, "Yes, yes, I will help you." And I think that's all I need to share about the interviews. I had one preceding that, where I'd gone with just one other lady, and we'd had Padnamaskar, and he'd blessed us, because that time when he looked into my soul and said, "What do you want?" I said, "Your love and your blessings." And then I've had subsequent interviews to that, culminating in each time I would say, when he looked in my soul, I would say, "I only want God, will you help me?" And the last interview I had with him, no, the last but one interview I had with him, he materialized this pendant from another dimension. His hands just went like that, the chain dropped, and then the pendant, and I was overcome because he actually asked me to kneel in front of him, and he put it around my neck himself, and that was given me in 2000. We're now in 2022. I wear it day and night, and it never leaves my body. And he gave it to me to give up desires and for protection. And I've really, really needed that on both those issues, because it's been a long evolutionary journey for me. It's like when we first come into incarnation, we come into a physical body and we forget who we are. We forget our divine essence. We forget where that divine spark of oneness. We come from what I call our heavenly home. We come from that part of God where we know that oneness with God. And we have to, we have to come down through the dimensions of time and space into this physical body. And it's like we've got blinkers on, you know, we can't see anything. And then gradually, through several lifetimes, we go through an evolutionary cycle where we reach that point in time where we know that we just have had enough of all of the games that we've played. I call them games. All of the evolutionary cycle of birth and death. And I really feel that hopefully in this incarnation, I've said anyway, I'm only going to be reborn if I have a barrister with a magnifying glass to read the contract properly, and I have no children and no relationships, and I come back fully enlightened. I've already put that in my clause, because I realise that all of our lives are linking from out of time. From the first moment of time to our last incarnation, it's like a thread, and it threads them all together. And each lifetime, before we come into incarnation, we speak with our spiritual advisors, we discuss what we need to learn, we discuss who we need to interact with in relationships in order to learn soul lessons and all of these things. And then as we gradually evolve, we start to realize that the person that we thought we were, even in this incarnation, when we first come into each incarnation, we come in anyway blindfold. So in each incarnation, whatever level of evolution we're at, we just think we're a body and we're going through our ups and our downs, the people we meet, our loves, our people that die, our divorces, our jobs, our lack of money, the wars that go on the planet. We just go all through this process until we get to an evolutionary cycle where we really begin to question what is really happening here. And for me now, I feel that I walk a fine line of being in the world but not of it, because through all my interviews with Sai Baba and my close connection with him, and then when he passed to spirit, he guided me to John de Ruyter, and I was a year in his community, and I've spent many other times with him as well on seminars abroad. Through the time with these masters and the evolutionary cycle that I feel I'm going through, I've come to learn that I'm not the doer, that consciousness is actually having its play through me. So I'll try and explain a little bit about that. There is only oneness. There is only the creative principle. I don't like to use the word God, but we can use it God. We can use unifying power. We can call it the absolute. Call it whatever you feel comfortable with. So there is only the one, and everything is within that. All of creation is within that. Every facet of creation is within that on every level, not just here on planet Earth, but on other star systems, galaxies, everywhere. We're all part of that ultimate oneness. So let's just kind of step back a little bit from here and just kind of look at this. So let's just say that one day God is getting a little bit bored, so he decides to split himself into thousands of pieces in order to come to know himself, observe himself, and bring himself back to himself. So all of these divine sparks, call it the Big Bang, get strewn everywhere through time and space. They come. But actually all that happened, the Big Bang, out of time and space, it happened in eternity, what I can only now call the now moment, which is what now I try and live in. So in that now moment, the Big Bang happened, filtered into thousands of pieces, then came down into time and space and into bodies, and then also the lovely creation of nature that we have around us here. And there appeared to be other things, like there appeared to be a tree there, and a Jonathan there, and a camera there, and grass here, and a chair here. But if I kind of just go right to the middle of that, there is only the golden light of consciousness. So I'm going to try and explain this in a different way now. You go to the cinema and you watch a movie, and the projector starts to roll on the blank screen. First of all, there's only the blank screen. That's all there is. And then the projector starts to roll and the film starts to unwind and you get enthralled in it. Maybe it's a great love scene, or let me think of the greatest movie I can think of. Maybe Cleopatra with Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. Let's have that one. You're so engrossed in this long film. I think it goes on for 4 hours really, in ancient Egypt, with Cleopatra, the great love affair with Mark Antony, where they're having a real love affair in real life anyway, if there is any real life. So all of the scenarios going on, and you've forgotten that you're sitting watching the television or you're sitting in a cinema. You're so enwrapped in it, you are them, you know, you're a part of it all. And then it all finishes and you come back to earth with a bump maybe, and you think, oh, that was a lovely movie, but now I've got to go home and get the tea. So then you're back in your role for this incarnation, maybe a mother or a housewife or a man going out to work, whatever that role is anyway, you're back in that role. You've forgotten that you're in the actor, and you put on that garb to act that role in this incarnation so that you could interact with all the other actors in your film. So everyone that comes into what I'll call your field, you've actually contracted for that before you come into incarnation. So your husband you would know from a previous life, your children, your parents, you would actually choose all of those between you all before you even came into incarnation. You would decide the exact moment of your birth for the planetary emanations that were needed to guide you. Absolutely everything from out of time has already happened in that now moment, before you come back into incarnation for the next scene, because that's all our incarnations are. We go from one incarnation to another, one scene to another, different costume, we play different roles, we incarnate in so-called different roles with so-called different people. But if you take all the costume away, there is only divinity, there is only the absolute there. So I'm going to try and explain it in another way now, that everything is a movement of consciousness. And this is going to be the worst thing of all for you to even want to try and understand, because it's going to be the death of the ego. So you might already be turning this off now already before I launch into this. Everything is a movement of consciousness. If I wanted to get up out of this chair, that movement would come. There would be a simultaneous thought in my mind as I moved. They would come simultaneously. If I wanted to walk down the pool, the same would happen. If I decided that I'm going to fly back to England, the movement would be there to book the ticket. If I decided we decided we were going to meet tomorrow, Jonathan and I, the movement would be there before anything happened. So that's what I'm trying to explain. Everything is a movement. Everything you do is a movement of consciousness. Without that movement, nothing can happen. So when you think about it, what makes your heart beat? What makes your blood flow? What makes your lungs contract and expand? You're not doing that. What is it that's doing that? It's the absolute, it's the ultimate reality, the divine spark that is your true reality. That's what it is. And that's the golden light that I'm talking about. So it's this movement that I'm talking about that's actually moving everything. This divine spark of the absolute that's calling you back to oneness, wanting to put all of the pictures together in the dream of its own, the divine Leela, is bringing all of the divine sparks back into oneness. So let's just say you feel that you have free will, for instance, about what you're going to do tomorrow. But when you think about it, it's not really until tomorrow comes that you know that you're going to do whatever you thought you might be doing the day before. It might follow that movement, but it might be something entirely different. You don't know. Some people that are really fixed in their ideas, they try and make it the idea they had the day before, and they don't go with the movement. And that's when problems kind of come in a way, because then everything kind of gets all tangled up. Where you could have taken the highway to get back to heaven, you had to take the detour and get lost through so many circuits. So you could say that you have about a milli something of thousands and thousands of billions of trillions of free will. But even when you bring it down, you haven't even really got that, so forget it, because then you would have to take it back to genetic programming, to ancestry, to what your parents did with you, everything, and all that's been pre-planned anyway, so just forget the free will. Difficult as it is, just kind of forget it. So whatever scenario you're in now, whatever you're doing, just accept that it's the right happening for you. You can't do it right, you can't do it wrong. If you're in a very painful situation, just accept that and actually be thankful for that, because it's only in the really painful situations that you go through that you evolve spiritually. When everything's going right in your life, you don't think about spiritual things and you don't evolve. It's only during the pressure that you really, really evolve. And many of us, we've taken on a lot of karma, not just for ourselves, but also for our soul family, our genetic family, even the collective consciousness. When I look at my life, I don't know whether it would be a comedy or a tragedy. I think more of a tragedy, actually, if I was to observe it from a Valerye point of view. Because so many difficult and painful things have happened. But I see that has actually refined me, that I've had to be put into the fire for the gold to kind of come out. You've got to be forged in the fires of liberation for the gold spark to ignite into oneness, and all of the levels of illusion then start to drop away. And you see that everything that happened in your life had to happen. There's been some instances in my life where I've decided I'm not going to do something, and then at the last minute I've had a knowing that I've had to do it, but I knew it was going to be horrendously painful, and it was. And it was like my soul knew that I was trying to get out of it when I said I wouldn't do it, but then it made me do it at the last minute. And you might be able to kind of balance that with things that have happened in your own life too. So always trust your intuition, because that's the real you that's talking to you. And know that whatever your situation you're in this moment is the right one for you. However happy or however painful it is, it's right in this moment because it's happening in this moment. It wasn't happening yesterday and it won't be happening tomorrow. So you can't change it. Whatever you're in now, just accept it. As Eckhart Tolle says, whatever's happening to you in this moment, your higher self has brought to you for your highest evolutionary purpose. So if you're having a quiet time and everything's happy, enjoy it, because in a few days it's going to turn the other way round. We have to have the dark and the light. Many people say to me, why have we got the wars in Ukraine? Why is this happening? Why did my son have to die? Why has that person got such an easy life? Why? I would say to you, forget the whys. For every question there has to be an answer, and for every answer there has to be another question. And it's just the eternal mind game of the self that doesn't want to be free. If you want to be free, your heart will guide you. It will tell you what to leave behind and what to take with you. And what to take with you actually is nothing. You have nothing to take with you because you are nothing. You came into this world with nothing, you'll leave it with nothing. There is nothing that you can take with you if you want liberation. So maybe this has just sown seeds for you. You might have already turned it off, saying this is ridiculous. How can you say that I don't have free will? How can you say that everything I've done up to this point has not been me? I've got this good job, I've got promotion, I've got this lovely house, I've got these beautiful children, everything's going well, I've got this yacht. I would just kind of say to you, well, you better just wait till next incarnation then, because my life's been nothing like that. So what I'm trying to say to you is that if you're listening to this, you'll be at a level, hopefully, that you can at least accept a little bit of it and allow it to sow seeds, and just say, well, I don't understand it, but I'm open to maybe greater understanding coming. And then you might be guided to this book or this person or that person. To me, it's totally liberating, actually, to know that I don't have any decisions to make, that or sometimes, though it is very difficult, I have to admit, if it's anything to do with my children, because obviously I'm a mother and it's the umbilicable cord, if it's anything to do with my children and self-harm, then myself does come in for a moment, but I'm able to free myself of that in an instant and say, that's in destiny, whatever that's happening, I'm not the doer, that's that person's destiny. So we can't ever stop anything happening, and we can't ever make anything happening that's not already written. And that to me is totally liberating, because it even takes you through the difficult times. If you're going through a time when you know that a loved one of yours is either doing self-harm or has maybe been killed, you've got to even open it up even more. Let's take someone that's been killed. First of all, there is no death. That person would have contracted to die at that point of their life. And there would have been a lot of other contracts too, as a learning experience for the family, first of all, because it's only when we lose a loved one that we really awaken that there's more to life than this, some people anyway. That up to that point, maybe they'd only kind of looked at the material, but now they've lost a loved one, and they so want to know that that loved one's okay, that they start going to the spiritualist church or a medium, and then gradually one or two layers come off. So there is no such thing as death anyway. I've spoken to more living people, more dead people than living ones, and my own mother, who was an atheist, once she passed, after she didn't talk to me, wouldn't leave me alone for years. If ever I was anywhere near someone who was remotely mediumistic, she'd be coming through. So you have to look on it from a higher level. You can't look at it from down here. You've got to take it higher and look from a higher level at everything that goes on, all the intricacies of the contracts, everything that's around that situation. And of course it's heartbreaking for the self, because the self is here in this incarnation. But if you have the knowing that everything is part of a greater plan, and that we're all parts of a jigsaw that have to come together as a whole, and even if one thing is missing out of that jigsaw, it's not complete, that will then bring you a lot of comfort. It does me anyway, because when when things happen in my life that are really painful, I'm back in that role of the self for a moment of worry, concern, stress. And then a moment later, I'm thinking, no, this has to happen. I'm surrendering all this. May thy will be done. I know on a higher level it's all perfect, and I'll see that later, even if I can't see it now. So this is how I live my life now, from moment to moment, with just what arises in the moment. At the moment, I'm here in Portugal. I don't know how long I'll be here. I first came here 3 years ago at the beginning of COVID. I thought it was for 6 weeks to do planetary healing. And then I'd only been here a month, and I found out, well, I found out by it being put in my mind to take note of it, that if you were here before Brexit, and we were, because we were here in the November, before the December and the January, we could actually put in for a residence permit. So we put all the papers in, not knowing what it was about, but it did allow us to stay for 8 months instead of 90 days. And then, because of the backlog of the COVID and everything, the next year we came back and did the same. And now we're the 3rd year doing the same. And now I have just heard from my agent, well, I haven't heard from my agent. 2 months ago, she sent me on the link from the Brexit that I'd got my residence, but she hasn't actually activated it. So I'm still here with no residence, and I haven't had the movement yet to activate it, because I'm wondering if all of this was not put in place 3 years ago, and I have done a lot of planetary healing, or done through me, not me. I would not have met Jonathan at this time and got all this out to you, because if I just come 6 weeks ago, if I just come 3 years ago for 6 weeks, I wouldn't be here now sitting with Jonathan. So all that was put up out of time and space 3 years ago. That contract was made. I'm now here with Jonathan making this for you. Whether I have the movement to activate the residence and decide that my destiny is here, I don't know, because I'm living in the moment. But I'm just giving you that scenario so that you can maybe get an understanding that what you did 3 years ago will have a consequence now, if it hasn't already, and will continue to do so in one way or another. So it's really, really important to just kind of live in the moment with the movement that comes in the moment, and don't try and, some people are so fixed that if I kind of say that I'm going to meet you Sunday and then something else comes up, they get terribly upset. Don't worry about people like that. It's their learning experience as well. We're here very much as learning experiences for other people. Things that happen, if you've hurt somebody or you've been in a really difficult situation or a divorce or whatever, don't feel guilty and think that it was your fault. It's a learning experience and a contract between you and the other person. So if anyone has hurt you, or if you've hurt anyone, there's nothing to feel guilty about that. Everything has been contracted beforehand. So that might kind of give you a little bit of comfort, because guilt is the best weapon for the self and not to be free. If you get into guilt, you'll never be free, you'll never evolve. The self likes to hook onto guilt. It likes to hook onto its story. That's another thing. Just leave your stories alone. All the things you've identified with that you feel who you are and you keep alive by keep talking about it. Oh, she did this to me and he did that to me, and that's because that's why I'm like I am now, because I had an unhappy childhood and they were nasty to me, or whatever it is. Forget your story. That's such a hook for the ego. Guilt, your story, anything like that, they're just big hooks that the ego will latch onto. So you need to dissolve all of that now, and the only way to do that is to live in the moment with the movement. Yes, sure, you may kind of get guidance a day before, a week before, that you're going to another country or whatever, and if that movement is still with you when it comes time to get the ticket, and if once you've got the ticket the movement is still with you to fly, then do it. But if in between times the movement is not there, then please listen to that, and that's important too. So always you need to just be in the moment with the movement, and just allow that movement, which is the divine spark of you, which is connected to the completion of the wholeness of the act.
Okay, then we're recording.
Okay, so just be of the opinion that you know nothing. The ultimate truth is oneness, and that needs no understanding. It can't come from the mind, it's coming from behind the mind. Your soul is what connects you with oneness, and in the spirit world you actually can, you know people from the light of their soul, but down here it's not so easy to know that. To know whether someone is like spiritually evolved or not, you can look at the way they live their life, whether they have any attachments to personal possessions, whether they actually own them and have an identity with them. That's a good clue. You will find once you begin your spiritual journey, and once you really go deeper into it, that all of as your old self starts to drop away, then people that you were close to will also fall away if they're not vibrating on your vibrational frequency, which will be evolving at a different rate than theirs. So don't worry if people are going out of your life. You probably need a time of aloneness, because this is the time when you kind of really evolve in nature and just coping with whatever is happening on what I call the screen of consciousness. Just quietly observe that while having time alone in nature by the sea. That's wonderful. If you're in a relationship with someone and it doesn't seem to be working out, just follow your own inner truth. It will fall apart at the end of the contract and not before, because you have a karmic contract with that person. So once you've learned everything you can from that soul contract, you'll either go your different ways or the relationship will go on to a different level. So you never need to worry really about who's in your life and should you be with this person or that person. If you just go back into the oneness and go beyond the mind and allow the soul to guide you, there won't be any of these questions in your mind. And it's all these questions in your mind that don't allow you to relax into oneness. So it's like a vicious circle where the mind is constantly worrying and thinking, and is this true and is that true, and what are they going to do and what am I going to do about this, and what happened about that, and should I have done this differently, and should I be doing that differently. Once you just realize that nothing happened here, you're just that pristine golden light that has come into incarnation to have an experience, so that oneness can experience itself within your form, whilst at the same time evolving it back to itself. And I can only again go back to the scenario of the jigsaw, the complete picture. Everything has to be complete in that jigsaw. If you take even 3 pieces out of that picture of the jigsaw, it will be incomplete. So we're going through a period now of high evolutionary change. That's what I want to say. The frequencies are like really revving up here now, and we've come to a division between the dark and the light, because you've got to have both in a good play. You wouldn't be watching a movie if it was all light. You've got to have the dark and the light. So there's this division, but you have to remember that the light is the more highly evolved beings that have gone through all this school of all of the school in all their lives before, and have reached that point in their evolution that they can go with this shift. And they're all of those that are like the darker ones that can't make this shift because they're lower levels of consciousness. Maybe, I have to put a maybe here, I'm going to go on to that in a moment, because maybe they haven't learned the lessons, and because they're at a lower level of consciousness, they're into like control, harm, everything that you can think of as negative. But sometimes you also have to question that as well, because when I was in the 10 years of violence with my ex-husband, I'm looking at that now and I'm thinking I wouldn't swap my place with his, because I had all the support from my spirit guides. And although I've slept with a knife under my pillow, although I've had my hip broken, although I've been attacked, So you can't always say that the people playing the darker roles are at a lower level of consciousness. When I look back into my own life, to the 10 years of domestic abuse with my ex-husband, when I look back now, I think I wouldn't swap my role with his. I had all of the guidance from I didn't have the guidance, but I had all the support from those beings in spirit, because I was actually working the spiritualist church at that time. Yes, I've slept with a knife under my pillow. Yes, I've had all this abuse, but how much more beautiful it was for me having my role than someone who's in absolute darkness as a how do you say that word? Perpetrator. That perpetrator who's creating all these so-called horrendous acts, you know. I had an injunction with a breach of the peace, which is very difficult to get when you're living with someone, and he would be like domestically abusing me, and I would be there to call the police, and he would just yank the phone out. But I've seen that, all of that now, everything I've been through, it's made me what I am. If I hadn't been all through those difficult experiences with my ex-husband, with my mother not talking to me, with losing my children, going to my ex-husband, with all of that, which also allowed me to be free to go to Sai Baba, to carry my spiritual journey, to carry on with my spiritual journey, I would not swap. Well, I can't swap it anyway, because I've chosen it all. Or the divine spark of me has chosen it all. But as a self anyway, there's no way that I would swap that. And it's said in the Bible that Lucifer is the brightest of angels because he garbed himself in darkness so that he would be the last one to enter the kingdom of heaven. He would make sure that everyone else got back in first. And that is telling us really that it's only through these interactions with what we call our dark forces, the people that make us unhappy, the people who seemingly do bad things, that are actually pushing us more towards the light. So that's what's happening in our world now at this time of great division. The ones that can evolve with these new frequencies that are coming in will take the leap into the new age, and the ones that can't, they'll be taken to another planet of choice to evolve on that and go through whatever lessons that they need to do. So I think I'm going to finish this by just saying that you always have to look under the surface. When you look at anyone, remember that you are meeting the Christ, that they're not the person that you think they are, doing the things that you think they are. That's none of that. That's your story and the story that they've identified themselves with. The bottom line is that everything is the Christ. Everything is the absolute consciousness. That is all there is. There is nothing else. Whatever is playing out on the world stage is playing out for good, although it doesn't look like it. The monetary system has to go down because too many people are concerned with money and how much they've got in the bank. So when they haven't got anything to save, they'll have to turn to something else, which hopefully will be the light within them. Obviously, the people in the war zone, what would you be doing if you were in the middle of a war zone? I think you'd be crying out to God, oh God, please help me. So they're being taken to the light in that way, or they're dying and they're being taken to the light, because every soul that goes to the light goes only at its allocated time and in the way that it has to spirit before it's time, and no one ever passes to spirit in a way that it's not contracted to go. So everything is in alignment with the divine blueprint of the individual, and it's like we're all God is like a computer and we're all programmed into it. So everything that's happening is happening as a response of divine will and as a response of an evolutionary cycle that every soul has to go through in order to find its way back to oneness.